Oh, baby. The wins keep coming for your Miami Heat as they beat the Orlando Magic tonight. Surprisingly, first game between these two this season. Usually it feels like we got like 9 of these in the books by now. Heat win 110-105. Now a season high, 6 games, over 500. I was cheeks on the couch tonight. I was not boots on the ground. But, the Miami Heat, they got off to one of those sluggish starts, which, is annoying. I tell you, Ron Rothstein, old Ron, I wouldn't say he was mad. I wouldn't say he was fired up. I don't want to mischaracterize. But Coach Ron was irked. Coach Ron was irked at halftime and frustrated that the Miami Heat don't seem to be able to give a consistent 4-quarter game very often, which they do not. You could count the blowouts on this team and on one hand this season. Coach Spozganu joking it after the games in the press conference where it's just like, Heat Nation, embrace this. You're getting your money's worth. And yet again today was still, pretty tight all the way up until the end, but they did pull out the victory, which was really the catalyst for this in the fourth quarter were two guys. It was Caleb Martin, who was really putting his fingerprints all over the place. He was really in his natural position tonight, which was disruptor. We talk about, the guys who are out there who could replace Caleb Martin, who could be better than Caleb Martin in the starting lineup. But I think this is always what he's best at, and that he can flip a game on its head with his defense, with his energy, with some impressive scoring ability. And he was just doing that all over with some big time blocks, some really, really spicy reverse layups to get Miami out on top and extend their lead. And then Jimmy Butler really took it home. Jimmy Butler was with some Jim VP style play with that beautiful, spinning basket and one. Had to, because, the referees tonight were not always on Jimmy Butler. They were not always on good terms. There was at one point where Paolo Banchero, who is really good, let me just say, the dude's going to be a star. It seems like he seems really, really good. He was getting the whistle tonight like a 2014 James Harden. Like, it was out of control, the kind of baskets this guy was getting all over the place. Like, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, two of the best in the league. They're watching this guy get a parade to the free throw line. And at one point, Jimmy Butler is just giving the most blatant side eye to the referee. And it's like they pan out and it's like uncomfortable, because this guy, I just didn't want to look Jimmy in the eyes, or Jimmy didn't want to look him in the eyes. Maybe something would have flown out of his mouth. But it was crazy, the calls that Paolo was getting tonight. It was, because you're like, look, I was like, what was his game tonight? And you look at Paolo's box score, and I think he was like 4 for 12, but he was like 10 of 13 from the free throw line. Dude was going to the charity stripe like crazy tonight, and finished with 19 points. But you're like, look, you're like, what? All right, like we're giving the Rook the benefit of the doubt on all these calls. Look, if he's getting those now, who knows what he's going to be getting when he's a seasoned vet. He has had a tremendous impression so far for Orlando, and they got a lot of young talent. That team does have a lot of firepower, and you can see why they can catch teams napping on a certain night. But Miami was able to handle things after getting a little bit sluggish, and we were seeing the same thing with the bad 3-point shooting. Thankfully, in the second half, we were getting some clutch baskets downtown. Max Strus had a really big game tonight from downtown, 5 of 7. So he finished with 17 points. Really big effort from him. Gabe Vincent, he hit 3 from downtown. You need it from both of them. Those guys, sometimes they always feel like they're tied at the hip. But, Lowry, Victor Oladipo, Tyler Hero really gave you nothing tonight. It was tough sledding. Tyler Hero, 0-3 from downtown. Victor Oladipo, he was 0 for 5 from downtown. And Kyle Lowry, this remains to be an interesting thing, because it does feel like Spo has made the decision. He's not closing with Kyle. Kyle now, as this is multiple games where he's not played in the fourth quarter, that Spo's just left him on the bench and stuck with his dogs on defense. And, the way Gabe Vincent was shooting, the way Max Strus was playing, and all of that, it was very noticeable that Kyle Lowry was not getting a lot of run in the fourth quarter. Not that Tyler got a ton of run either, but Kyle, big old goose egg Nothing there tonight for the veteran point guard. And it is going to be curious to see because we're coming in on this trade deadline. Miami has got to be feeling good about the way they're playing. They are breathing down the neck of the Cleveland Cavaliers for 5th in the East. If we take a look right now at that Eastern Conference standings, and Cleveland lost. I'm recording this on Friday night. Cleveland lost to OKC 112-100. So that puts us at 28-22. Game back in the loss column of Cleveland, who's 30-21, and 3 back in the loss column of Brooklyn, who is 29-19. So Miami, for the slow start, the sluggish start, like they are starting to catch their stride, it seems a little bit. They were able to sweep this homestand, including a win against the Boston Celtics. Now they're going out on the road. They got a game against Charlotte on Sunday, who's obviously awful, so you hope they can take care of business there. Cleveland will be a fun matchup because the last time they took them on, Miami was really banged up. They got smoked by Cleveland, so be a fun matchup to see because that is a really intriguing playoff matchup if that ends up being a 4-5 possibly in the first round. The Donovan Mitchell storyline will obviously be a thing that Heat fans are into as well. But, that'll be one to keep out. Then you got the Knicks, always a fun rivalry, and Milwaukee. So this is a Sunday, not as sexy, but there's a bunch of fun matchups coming up here for Miami right there in the thicket of that Eastern Conference and where those things are at. So it'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on, see where we're at with this whole season about us. But looking at tonight, the big storylines, Jimmy Butler taking it home, did it in front of Felipe. Felipe was there loving it on the courtside seats. I told you guys on the radio show that was the most obvious thing that was going to happen is the kid was going to get courtside seats for tonight's game and be able to cheer Jimmy Butler on. And he was fired up. I loved it. People, just enjoy some of the good things in sports, all right? The kid is there. He got a cool experience with Jimmy Butler and got to go out to dinner with him, got the memorabilia. Good fortune has gone his way. Good for him. Anybody who wants to hate on it on social media, you're just being a scoundrel. Like, just let the kid enjoy it. It's a once in a lifetime experience. And I thought it was really cool that he got to see Jimmy be clutch at the end there in classic Jim VP style. And Bam tonight, he was just like steady as ever. It was good to see, by the way, on the voting. Bam, I believe, was 5th for the players in front court players behind Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Giannis, and KD. So I was happy to see Bam get more of the respect from the players and the coaches than he did from the fans, which was obviously a disgrace. He finished 11th in fan voting, which, look, Heat Nation plays a role in it too. I don't understand it. But that was disappointing to see that the fans are just not, gravitating to Bam like they should. But he's going to be an all-star for sure. Like if he doesn't, someone's going to have to answer for their crimes. I'm just letting you know right now, starting with you, Shaq. Saw that you kept him off the reserves. That annoyed me. I saw that on the screenshot. And so if I'm jumping down your neck, then I'm sorry. But, don't leave Bam off your reserves. I'm telling you right now, dude, don't do it. Don't you do it. And speaking of, I got to say, this disappointed me because I hate this guy. I just think he's a real highfalutin, like just basketball holier than thou. And that's Daryl Morey. But apparently Daryl Morey was pissed because Joel Embiid missed out on being a starter because he was voted 4th by the media, even though I guess he was 3rd in the other 2 spots. So he missed out and Tatum got the starting spot. So Morey goes on local radio in Philly and he says, Joel Embiid completely hosed once again. And then he said something to the effect, I'm getting this from Austin Krell's Twitter account. What's his credentials? He writes for thepaintedlines.com, whatever the hell that is. Does he pay for his blue check mark? Let's check. Nope, he's at it. All right. Anyway, he said Morey went on to specifically point out that the shameless Boston media is way overrepresented in the all-star selection process. And I got to tell you, it pains me to say this. Daryl Morey's right. It's true. There's way too many Sully and Murphs out there. O'Doyles, O'Connors, O'Ringers, O'Malleys, O'Simmons. There's too many of them. There's too many Celtics reporters, Boston-based reporters out here, and it corrupts the process. And it's like it's so slanted in the coverage at all times. It's the reason why Marcus Smart won Defensive Player of the Year last year. Flat out, point blank, period. And I don't hear anybody talking about Bam Adebayo being the best defender on the number 1 rated defense in the month of I saw Depoy the other day. It was like Jaren Jackson Jr., who didn't he miss the first quarter of the season? And plays 25 minutes a game, and they're having him as the number 1 in their Depoy ladder. Brooke Lopez, who's a giant ostrich who just stands in the paint like this. Well, what are we doing here? So it pains me to say it, but I think Daryl Morey has a fair point that this Boston saturation in the NBA media, it's way overblown. Some of the most popular podcasts are all Boston guys. The lead reporters for many of these outlets are all Boston guys. It's just Boston. Left. It's too much. It's too much with the Sully and Murphs. Anyway, another story for another day. Heat win, big road trip coming up. Great job by the boys tonight getting it done. Shout out to Felipe. Glad you got a good show. And we'll be ready for the Hornets coming up on Sunday.